Hey, it's Jordan Blake Parker, the Reckless Hope Show. I have a very special guest. Larry Favalora is here with us. Hey, welcome.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
The pleasure is all ours. So you don't get to know this, but we've been talking off set for like 2 hours, and we finally have to record a Hope Show. So there's that, because he's a very interesting guest. But one of the reasons that you're here is you have a unique background. You have a very unique background, but you figured out how to make it work for you based on kind of your philosophy in life. I mean, your deep convictions about life, and that's really what we're going to draw out of you as this goes.
Lots of details, and I mean detours.
Lots
of detours.
Both.
So it's you finally figured out at 58, but at 38 and 28 and 48, it was a little bit of a different story.
Well, it's
a work in progress, like most of us, right?
Yes. And when I told you that earlier when we were talking, is like that's the greatest thing I think is not being comfortable with failure ever, but knowing that there's a certain amount of learning experience that occurs. And the only thing that I think separates the ones that make it and the ones that don't is the outlook of what failure really is.
Exactly. It's your definition of failure.
Yeah.
Making a mistake or not doing something right, especially when it's not something you planned, is not failure.
So I mean, we're gonna get into this, but there's really a lot of subjects that we can talk about with you. You're well versed. I mean, there's sort of I'm sitting here like, when we were going over the details of the show, it's like looking at your somewhat biography or looking at your profile. You could be on a show that dealt with like literally any impossible amount of topics. You could do business because you're at Cambridge.
Yes. Yep.
You have an MBA from Cambridge, right? Which is, if you guys don't know what Cambridge is, I can't help you. Google that because it's impressive. And then on top of it, you have a master's in architecture.
In architecture, yeah.
Hang on, it gets better. So he has a master's in architecture. He's an MBA from Cambridge. And yet, now tell us what you do today, though, with that.
It varies. I have like 3 business cards, so it just depends which one you want. We're small business owners. I went to work for an architectural firm when I was younger and out of college, and then got my own, and have never worked for anybody since. And I think I'm really a lousy employee. And the benefits of the personality and the gifts also have a negative. I'm not as good, especially in my younger years.
Right.
Back then it was overconfident. Today it's experienced. Right.
Right.
So,
yeah. That's how we look at it.
I had no experience back then, but I was still overconfident. And today the overconfidence has kind of backed off, and now I can say I have experience. So now I'm a little more expected. You're
definitely the most educated guest we've had on the Hope Show. Now it's not a real high bar.
No.
We have Blaine Bartell, and you know what I'm saying. So he's the one that he's up there. Don't get me wrong. He's very educated. He's Canadian, so we'll give him that. And then the Reverend Todd Sloggett, which I believe dropped out of high school, and then there's me. So the bar's not high, but kudos, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I used to pray on a regular basis with a gentleman who's now passed away, and his name was Leonard Ravenhill. And and Leonard Ravenhill used to come to our church in Oilton all the time.
Okay, so I didn't know this before we started recording, but that's what we've been talking about.
So listen to what he said.
Ravenhill's my guy.
Okay, but let me tell you what his advice to me was. It wasn't so exciting. I was getting ready to enter Cambridge, and what he said to me was, British accent, he said, Favalora, he said, 32 degrees and you're frozen. He said, you don't need to keep going back to school to move ahead. So that was my
his gift, though.
Yes.
That's Ravenhill. You've never read Leonard Ravenhill. That's his gift.
Exactly.
Is making me what appears to be this like amazing advice and making it simple. Like I said, that's Ravenhill's like.
Yeah. So that was his advice to me.
Okay, so after this, we gotta get to the show, but I want to hear all about. I gotta hear all about Leonard. Uncle Leonard.
So I
call him Uncle Leonard because I read everything that he ever wrote. I mean, he was Paul Washer's like mentor. I mean, there's that. I mean, he's just anyway.
We used to cut wood. He and his wife would use their wood stove, and he lived in Texas. So I'd bring a bunch of guys with flatbeds, and we'd bring bricks of wood at the beginning of every fall.
Leonard Ravenhill
to Leonard Ravenhill's house.
So he's my brother's like hero other than Spurgeon. That's my brother's pastor, and so Leonard Ravenhill has the quote on his headstone is the things that you're living for worth Christ dying for. That's the quote that Ravenhill. That's what he wanted on his headstone.
Wow,
so that's what he is anyway.
He lived it. He and his wife lived it.
He was the man. I mean, he was like a modern day Puritan in his anyway.
No tolerance for a compromise.
No, that's neither here nor there. But Ravenhill.
Yeah.
Holy crow.
Anyway.
Okay, getting into it, Larry Favalora. I wanted to have you on after I heard a little bit about you. You're unique upbringing, we'll just put it that way, right? We'll just you've got some ties to family ties to organized crime, and that's all we'll say. We'll not go any deeper.
We'll have to kill you if you say anything else.
It's like, and I don't know if he's joking, so we're moving on from that. But no,
that's a good choice.
So with that, we've talked a little bit about off camera. So you had that upbringing, that and that leaves a mark on you. I mean, it does. I mean, whatever. But you had kind of a light, you said, and a housekeeper that really kind of poured into you. But we wanted to talk about this because you're sort of in a position now with all of your degrees and your education, but you found yourself in this position because you love people, which is very rare. Because I'll be honest with you, people are the hardest part for me because I'm analytical, and maybe the high functioning autism or whatever it is, but it's like people suck most of the time, so it's very hard to it's very hard to love people unconditionally, or even to, especially in our business, you deal with the worst of people. They're at their absolute worst,
right.
and so that's a different thing. But with you, that's what drew you to what you're doing now, because you could do anything. I mean, you could do things you were
I'll tell you,
about.
the majority of times that I changed what we were involved in, and we've owned telecommunications companies. I've helped start a bank with a group of guys. We've had an airline. We used to own Great Plains. I was the founder of Great Plains Airlines, one of the founders of Great Plains Airlines in Tulsa. So we've done.
I'm pretty familiar with it. Yes.
Because it's business. It doesn't matter. I don't have.
But you see it as people.
Exactly, and I don't have the subject matter expertise in the airline business or the banking business. I was the heart, the compassion, the sales and marketing, the drive, the capital raise, and then the outreach to the community and bringing people in and getting to utilize a product or
which
service.
is a huge part of it.
Yeah, and that's what I do.
It's the lifeblood.
So I'm not leaving now. We're in the pharmacy business. Good Lord, I don't know anything about the medication. I told my partner, who does know a lot about it, I don't want to know. My RAM is only a certain size, and the focus here is how do we enter a market that's very mature, and how do you make money at it when everybody else is not making money, making very little money, or losing money?
Especially private pharmacies. I mean,
listen, Great Plains Airlines was operational break even at the end of its first year.
Wow.
There wasn't an airline in the country other than Southwest Airlines that was making money back then. And we ran it because we hired great guys that knew what they were doing.
And you poured into people. That's what you do. And so we talked about this, and this is kind of the reason I wanted you on too. Is I've always heard growing up, and I've held on to this quote: is the ability to nurture talent is far more rare than talent itself. And so behind what someone would see as a talented person, and that's who we idolize, I guess, in our culture, is these talented people. Someone's behind them that is way smarter and at least way more valuable than that. And so you kind of found yourself in this position now where you're helping people that are passionate, and you kind of, that pulls you in different directions. And you have a unique outlook on the drug epidemic in America, which we share this outlook. I mean, it's so the big thing and you jump in here in a second. So the big thing that we dealt with when we first came into the industry was you have to identify the problem. You have to identify that they're an addict. You have to convince them that they're an addict so they can get help. And now I understand the reasoning. The first step to solving any problem is admitting that there is one, right? And so. But I think in the industry, in the recovery business, we've held on to that. And so continuing to label those people as addicted and continuing to label that, you think, and we share this, but I want your thoughts on it, that it's damaged, let's say their self-image, their psyche on some level, and you think that's contributing, I mean, for us not being able to get out of this hole as the drug epidemic in America. Am I getting that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think what winds up happening is we may get them off drugs for a certain period of time, and that's considered success. But what happens is, if you look at it, you can look at it from a biblical standpoint, which doesn't always translate to the public.
Sure.
We have to be balanced. I mean, we can't be so. I just prayed for you. Are you not out of it? Are you no longer a drug addict? I mean, you don't need it anymore. Look, I prayed for you. So either my prayer failed, or you're not responding, so it's got to be you because it's never me because I prayed for you.
Which alienates.
So it becomes. So here's the thing: we have to change the person's mind. We have there is a scripture, but it's also a very solid statement from a psychological and philosophical standpoint. What a man thinks is he.
If
you don't see yourself successful, if you don't see yourself doing something well, you never will. Go to any baseball player, any athlete. He sees himself playing well. He
Right.
sees it before it happens.
Right.
Now, you can see it all day long. I could stand in a garage, and it's never going to make me a Mercedes.
Right.
I'm never going to be a Mercedes because I stand in a garage.
Right.
But if I get out there and I do something about it, I can affect change.
Absolutely.
It is a lot of it's personal responsibility, and then we have to get people to look at them differently. And how do we do that? We do that by helping the person see themselves as they should be.
Absolutely.
And that is harder over a long period of time than getting them to get
Yeah, it's
off
not
of
instant
a
result.
substance.
It's not instant result.
No,
you have
it's
to
not.
pour into them, and that's the failure. Is that we
Yes.
the attractive part, because we do a lot of. I'll just put it this way: helping drug addicts is not sexy in the sense that it doesn't appeal to a lot of people. That's not something that a lot of people say. Well, that's the one I want to be involved in. That's a nonprofit I'm going to give to. Usually it's arts or animals. I mean, holy
Right.
crow.
Right.
We could like raise pandas and make millions,
Right.
right? In
Exactly.
donations, like it's amazing. It's
Cute
like
kids and
yeah, but all we do is help human beings. So it's,
Right.
it's some sort of. So the thing that you said that I do want to touch on is this: you said that if we don't change the way they look at themselves, and now this is one thing that I've preached my whole entire reckless career is, hey man, we're trying to get you to the point that you understand what's going on, and once you do, you can actually affect change in your own life. So one of the things I used to say, like you said, hey, you gotta shake that negative belief, because a lot of the people that go into the treatments and a lot of people that have addictions, they've got serious issues. Things have happened to them in their life, and I think one of the failures is no one validates that.
Right.
Now, from our perspective, validating that's a huge thing. Hey man, I know that you're hurting. I know you are. Are you kidding me? Like, you've had things happen to you in your life that I probably can't even fathom. Let's not dwell there though, because let's be honest, no matter what brought you here, you're here. It's like whatever got you addicted. Maybe your dad was nuts, right? Maybe your mom did crazy things.
Verbally
to you.
abusive.
Sure.
You didn't believe in yourself. They didn't believe in you.
No, it's
You're
like,
worthless.
That's not who you are, though. It's a
Right.
chapter of your story, but you get to write the last 10 pages if you're smart enough to figure that out in time. And it's just about pouring into that person. So one of the things that we try to do now, and I think that it's you do it out of a business perspective, because it's just people to you. It's no different. So whether it's a drug addict, whether it's somebody who's hurting, whether it's a guy that just went bankrupt and he doesn't know how he's going to feed his family anymore.
Right.
You see broken people, period. You just see people.
See, and I will interject and say that I can't sit here and be arrogant and think that I have an answer or I know why someone's failing
Sure.
with a drug problem.
Right.
That's just not something I've dealt with personally.
Right.
Myself, I have with family members,
Mhm.
and we've helped family members get through. But I know it has got to be incredibly difficult.
Right.
And there is no easy answer.
But I will say this.
But you have to have people believe in you, and that's the way it is. And
Right.
I think I told you earlier, the one thing that my dad said, that failure, even if you've lost everything you have, keeping your relational equity is really your key to come back.
That's huge.
And you know what? You may have burned your family through your addiction.
You're right.
But there are other people that are
Absolutely.
here that are going to believe in you and are going to help you get out of where you are and help you get to the next level.
And that's the first
And then
step.
your family sees that you've done it,
Right.
and you receive their approval again. But it's later.
It's
And
restored.
not- but it's got to hurt if you've got a family member. I can't even imagine doing something that burns your entire family
Yeah.
to where you feel completely alone, and you ultimately are.
Right.
So you go to something that makes you feel better. I get that.
Right.
The way out, like you're doing, what you guys are doing here, is you're not just helping them get off the toxic substance.
That's a
You're
small
actually
part of it, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
You're actually helping them and providing for them success, which is going to change their minds.
Yes.
Verbally tell them you're good, you're good, you're good, you're a great guy, you're a
No,
great
they gotta
guy.
have validation.
Means nothing. They
Yeah,
gotta do something.
that's right. They
So
gotta
now
do
they
something.
start a career, they start a job, they keep it for over a year, they've
Right.
never held a job, like you said,
Right.
401k, they've got all these things,
Insurance.
what they think everybody else has and
Yeah.
they don't.
So that's yes,
that's
and
exciting to me.
Well, it's one of those things that we learn this. No one's teaching this, and so we
Right.
kind of had to. We have a mentor, Reverend Todd Sloggett, or I do, and he kind of guided me and showed me, and I started to see it work. The more people that we poured into, well, then there was just kind of like the church and kind of just the state in general's idea is, okay, we got them into treatment, now it's on them. Well, now you've wasted every dollar. If
Right.
you've spent $1 million getting the addicted into treatment and you drop them at treatment like they're someone else's problem, you have literally wasted every dollar up until that point. It's pointless. It's completely and utterly worthless.
And you know as well as I do, 30 days is not going to help anyone.
No, it doesn't help anybody. So it starts
It
with
just makes them fail again.
So yeah. So what do
It's
you
another
think?
failure.
What do you think it is about the system that refuses the logic of it all. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like with me, I've had some meetings with a mutual friend now. It's Governor Stitt. I didn't know that but you're very right. And I've had some meetings like Office of Juvenile Affairs, people like that. And one of the things that they want to know is how we're so successful. Like we've written some code that just people just cannot. And it's like, no. There are programs that work. You have to see it all the way through, and that's where people get lost.
What about the concept that it's really not the government's place to even do that?
Well,
Because
I'm a libertarian, so I would voice that.
Yeah,
with you.
and I'm not. It's not even a political statement.
No,
As much as it is, it's just that's not the role of a government.
It's not.
And they don't get it, and the metrics are not there, the compassion is not there.
That's exactly right.
And so what's happening is we're sending them off with the mindset it's somebody else's problem.
Right.
When there are private organizations
Yes.
that have proven have documentation, paperwork that says throw the money over here to the feds or to the state, and this is the return you're getting, 3 to 4%
at best, yeah.
And then when you go to a private institution, and then we have to also take into effect that you're throwing somebody in something for 30 days.
Right.
No one.
No, and now
you
we
don't
have
ever
science.
change your behavior.
No.
In 30 days.
Well, now
Listen, I'm trying to lose weight. I've been locked in my house for 38 days. I'm 6 pounds heavier. What the heck? I'm supposed to be.
Though.
I used to complain I didn't have enough time to eat right.
Yeah.
I would always eat out. I don't have time to exercise.
It's a deeper issue.
I'm
There's
locked in
something
my
else
house
going
for
on.
30 days
That's
eating
it, brother.
Cheetos.
That's it.
What the heck?
But now we have science to support it. The addict's mind.
Right.
Then nothing happens in 30 days. It usually breaks around 90 days to 120 days. Now we have all this science. And my question to you is, so in the circles that you're in and the governments kind of that you advise or counsel and those things, what do you think it is about the state? Is it that we're so far into it now? I mean, Oklahoma's almost $700 million a year to fight drug addiction.
Everybody, when you sit at the Capitol, and you're sitting there as a representative or as a senator, you are being presented with ideas that are okay, but no one really takes the time to put in what's the real solution. How do we really? Let's do this.
It's not, and it's not education. It's not.
No, it's not.
It's not education, and I think that's where the government's got. They just pour more money into it. We got to get them more educated, and we agreed on this. If education fixed the problem, we would be the most problem-solved generation there is. Because we're wildly educated.
And I can yell right now to my phone, "Hey Google," and it'll talk to me. I can find out anything.
Oh, my granddad read the
How many
newspaper
gnats
every
are there
morning.
in a square mile? I just find that out on my computer.
So my granddad read the newspaper every morning. We have more information available to us in literally one Google search than he had in the years that he read that newspaper. I mean, like it's massive. So where does the cutoff happen? Like what? And I think you touched on it with the Senate and this. They're voting on ideas that they're hearing, and it's kind of was it the least worst option? I mean,
it's whoever gets to their ear. That's the problem. So you get a group from the state who doesn't want to lose money. See, if we figured out that the state really can't handle it, it's really not the best application, and it doesn't generate the best results.
Right.
We just put about 400 or 500 people, maybe thousands of people, unemployed, and they're voting for these guys. Guess who's not going to vote to throw out 4,000 of their constituents?
That's it.
So we have an inherent problem.
There. Right.
We have an inherent problem. There's good intentions. There's definitely not malice. But the actual application of the real solution is not found in what's happening. So what needs to happen is guys like you need to be packaged better to be able to bring to the state and to say, listen, there's the solution at half the cost.
You heard it, yeah. So my board has been trying to tell me to get packaged better for some time now. I mean, unfortunately, I can't get any better looking, but I can, dress like I'm not 13, which is what they keep telling me to do. But the thing, when you said that about the state, so I know some state senators. I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough in my life to have met them. Great guys. In fact, we were talking about Jim Langford. So
what
amazing
congressman, incredible man,
and the real deal.
Yeah,
he's absolutely the real deal.
Depth.
He is
unbelievable.
Yes, and he's just electric in a room. He just takes interest in. And so when I met these people and talked with them, you said it to get packaged better, to get in front of them. That's kind of your skill, is the recognizing what separates two completely different people and figuring out how to network that and plug that in correctly.
I call it a niche.
I love that.
There's a problem and there's a solution, and then there's a gap in the middle because the solution we're using doesn't affect the same results that we're looking for. So someone has to usually come in from the outside and look at it and say, wait a minute, that's the way you've always done it. But you have to have enough confidence to say, but what we've already done has garnered some results, but hasn't given us the responses that we want.
Right.
So here's a better way to do it. And it may be from an outsider, which is what I've always done. People, my friends, even family will come to me, Larry, almost sarcastically, what are you doing now? What do you mean? What am I doing now? I build and sell businesses. They just don't happen to be. I'm not a doctor.
You don't have one title.
I don't have. Well, I don't stay in one thing for 40 years. You know. I mean, to have a gold watch and stay at the same company, I would blow my brains out.
Right.
That's just not my skill set. So I go in and we figure out what's wrong and we fix it. I have these pharmacies, and that's what we've done. We've looked at it from a totally different.
But you never wanted to. That was never your gig. You never thought, oh, yeah, I'm going to buy a bunch of pharmacies and kind of like do that.
I never even thought about it.
So you're rare though, because I'll tell you this, because it's the way I talk and the way I've, everything contributes to the way I am, and we, upbringing and education and all these things, and then most of it is the way you're born. You can't teach what you don't have.
Right.
I'm not that guy, but here's what's crazy is like when you said that, it's so true, because I've sat in these rooms I've met Governor Stitt, he's fantastic, right? And I've sat in these rooms, and I can remember when I realized what you're saying now is true, because I thought in the beginning, reckless is proven to work. Why would no one jump on board with what we're doing? I just got to tell them about it and they'll jump on board. But education's not the key, so that's not even relevant, right? So here I am.
That's logic, but it doesn't translate.
No, it doesn't.
Into real life. No, sadly.
So here I am, and there was some state of Oklahoma. I'll just leave it at that. There's some state of Oklahoma people in this meeting, and they asked me, because they hear pitches all the time, and they said, so how do you help the addicted? And I said, well, I walked them through it. We rescue them off the street, no cost to them and their families. You have to make it free or they won't do it. It's an obstacle. You take all the obstacles away. I said, then we just guide them all the way through treatment. And I remember, I'll never forget it, a gentleman, very high up in the state, he looks at me and he goes, well, that's what we do in my department here in the state of Oklahoma. And I was like, yeah, but you suck at it.
Right.
Now here's me, I'm not trying to offend.
Right.
Because I'm logical, I'm a black and white, there's no gray, it's a logical
Let's
thing.
get a spreadsheet out. You
But
are
now-
now successful.
Right, and the meeting went on for 30 more minutes, but I can tell you he's not listening. After that comment I made,
If that was private sector, they never would make it because nobody would invest into that.
No, and that's my
That's
thing.
the problem.
And so this is what I end up telling him. He says, well, he gets offended. What do you mean we suck at it? Well, sir, I'm sorry, I thought that was common knowledge. You have a 3% success rate and you're dumping $700 million a year. I wasn't trying to offend. That was...
Statistics.
I thought you knew that. I thought that was like like, is that not? But it's communicating that effectively where no one's insulted, because like you said, generally deep down there's no malice. He's trying very hard. He doesn't have the tools.
Exactly.
Because I think, and I don't know, you're the rarity, man, because you exist in both circles. You're logical, but you also operate in some government circles, which is very strange, because the thing about government, what it's been ordained to do scripturally, it's amazing at. What the government or the state or the nation, what that office has been ordained to do biblically, they're amazing.
Right.
But I'll tell you, it's just outside the scope. And it's this thing with drug addicts and helping, let's even say the widowed or the orphan. That was never supposed to be the state's job.
Correct.
But they filled a gap. Good intentions. It wasn't the church. The church failed.
I was just going to say that. There was a reason why they had to step in.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It was.
Now, I will tell you something based on what we talked about earlier and tying it back into where you are now. You have started an organization from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
You burned a bunch of T-shirts in the process. We said earlier.
I set my wife's kitchen table
exactly.
on fire. That was a fact, yeah. Trying to print shirt.
If this all went away,
mm-hmm.
you now have a skill set that would translate into almost any industry.
You mean the shirts?
No.
Oh.
Managing, starting an organization, leading a group of people. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a rough education. Shirts are easier.
On, but it is. But here's the thing, and this is what people need to hear themselves. Because what's happened is your success here can translate. I can run one business because I learned how to run a different one. And then what you do is you bring in the people. So getting back to what we said, how do we get somebody from an addiction to success?
Because they have passions.
Exactly.
They do.
They have to realize something. Wait a minute. If, God forbid, reckless falls to the ground and dies for whatever reason, you've got a skill set that if you recognize that skill set, you can move that skill set into any industry.
That's absolutely true.
Well, that's what you're not even realizing.
I know, I didn't do it intentionally.
No, but that's what you're translating to everybody that stays with you and that you help. that story has to be told, because that gives them the confidence to know that I can do the same thing. And seriously,
it is.
So you look at me and you say, okay, that you're rare. Oh, only rare because I've applied it. There are plenty of people that will, but what they do is when something bad happens, I don't really know.
They quit though.
They quit. They're afraid. They go panic.
But that's because they don't know. They don't know they can do it. They don't know and I think. So people ask me this all the time, and I hear this constantly in biographies I read or people I talk to. Well, it got really bad and we really thought about quitting. I've never thought about quitting Reckless. I'm not like bragging, but it's like, it's part of my DNA. I feel like what we're doing and the convictions I hold. So it's deeper than my bone marrow. Like it's just, why would I quit? Like that doesn't make any sense, you know?
Right.
And people have to feel passionate about that, something, whether it's Reckless, helping the addicted, whatever. And so how do we identify? And then how do we get them to believe it? So that's the kicker, because you don't know without talking to me what I'm passionate about. And unfortunately, the addicted are beaten and broken down 90% of the time, 95% of the time. They're not going to tell you they're not going to open that up to you. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to take a personal, like literally a vested interest in their life. So is that the disconnect where no one's doing that? I mean, no one's like getting to know.
We don't have apprenticeships anymore. We don't bring on somebody that's younger and teach them what we've got, and then they get a chance to see that I've just had a really bad mistake or a hiccup in my business, and there's this young guy watching me and sees how I handle it. Listen, if you would have said to me, Larry, I have thought about quitting, it would concern me, because your ministry, your business, what you do, you can't give up on anybody.
Right.
So it has to be inside of you. That's why I may not be good in your position as good as I may be in another position. Because the DNA, the skill sets, the things that you've got are just right for what you're doing. The idea is to help people identify I used to call it their groove.
Yeah.
What's your groove?
Right.
What do you feel passionate about? What are you good at? And what do you want to see your life look like? Where those three intersect is your groove. You have found, whether you did it by chance or just by purpose, you found your groove.
And now with the guys,
what we have to do with our
guys.
And
I've seen this with the guys that work with us here at Reckless. One, in the beginning, we needed stuff done, and so I put them in terrible positions or wrong positions for their skill set, and that I had to learn that.
Right.
I had to learn that. Hey, it doesn't matter how mundane or whatever what you think is easy, what you're asking them to do. If it's not their passion, you can't make them do it.
Right.
It's complicated.
Can't make them like it.
But then you put them in the right spot and just watch them. I mean, and that means, I think, having the courage to be, flexible. I mean, so you kind of, like you said this earlier with your pharmacies and stuff. And I'm just going to get into this because it's amazing. So when the coronavirus hit, it scared a lot of business people. It panicked a lot of people. Okay,
us included.
Okay, right.
I have two great business partners, and all of us were like, we're bleeding.
It's incredibly
automatically. We're bleeding money.
And so that's what you told me. Now we're going to share that you were losing a significant amount of money monthly. I mean, the economy shut down.
Still do.
Yeah, but you had this because you've been broken before. I mean, there was these moments that this didn't scare you to the point it did other people. We talked about. People think that we aren't scared. They meet me or they meet Larry and they act like we don't ever get scared or panic. And it's like I said, I panic at 2 a.m. You said the exact same. You said door shut, no one's there. I'll throw up. I'm good. You know what I mean? It's like I do that. But deep down, what you did was you said there's a solution here somewhere.
Yeah.
And you went to work. I mean,
so what I did is I said to my partners, you guys run the pharmacies, and they do. I've got 2 incredible partners that are back office guys.
That's their group.
And that's their thing.
That's their thing. Yeah.
So what I asked permission from my partners is, hey, can I go out and start some things that could generate some ancillary revenue? And we started a medical supply company, and we're in 3 states right now. And the sales, we're in this thing for 30 days, and we got 3 state contracts. And we're doing as much as companies that have been around for years and years and years in just a 30-day period. And we didn't know what a glove or an N95 mask versus a KN95 mask versus KY jelly.
But you don't have
no idea what any of it was.
Because you know people.
We knew people that did.
Exactly.
And then we found out what I did is we asked, what do you want? What do you need? So, okay, now we have to have this list. And we sat around and said, what is this? We don't even know where to get it. We asked you what you wanted. We made it look like we know what we're doing, and then we went out and we found it. So that's it.
So you did. So that fear of failure is not. It's there, but it's got to be.
It was a motivating factor to do something about it.
Exactly.
You know, the general going into battle is petrified, even though he's saying charge.
Absolutely.
You know, and you know you're going to have some losses. That's just life. But the leader has to be confident because we can win if we keep going.
That's it. So we talked about this earlier, and this is amazing. In the drug epidemic right now in America, because we're still in the middle of it. I think that's why at Reckless we kind of picked up operations during the coronavirus, because we were already in the middle of an epidemic. So I kind of feel like we'd already been trained, and we're running toward the chaos, and everyone's running away, and they're going, "How are you still operational?" I'm going, "How are you not? Can we shut down? Is that a thing? How do you not help people that need help?" So we just. But the thing is this. Everyone that we have met on both sides, government side, ministry side, whatever side, church, it's all hopeless. It's all hopeless. But you and I, and so until I met you, you're one of the few people that you came to me. I didn't have to. My board, they believed in me, but I had to share that vision for them to jump on board. You came to me. It doesn't look hopeless at all to you. It's an opportunity for you.
It is hopeless for some because some are going to panic and do nothing about it,
which is ridiculous. I mean,
and there are people that are hurting. I mean, there are restaurant owners, businesses.
Absolutely.
I don't know how they're going to recover. It breaks my heart.
Right.
Right now, there's an opportunity. There are people that are home.
Right.
What do you do to get your name out? You know, and try to bring in as much business as possible. Tie it into nonprofits. You got to think out of the box, man.
Right, and they need
it's
a guy.
Not business as usual anymore.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But it's seeing that opportunity in the brokenness, seeing that as an opportunity in the brokenness. So where we're at now with the drug epidemic, government's scratching their heads. States are literally just dumping money. I mean, it's
out of guilt sometimes.
Yes.
You have to.
You're lighting it on fire though at this point. 3% success rate on $700 million a year. If that's a business. You're getting overthrown. That's not you're getting hung out of the boardroom on that one. So in this drug epidemic we see now, you think, where does it start? Walk me through, because you said about connecting, building that gap between the government has a role in it. The state's got a role in this. And do you think that we have the people in power right now in the state of Oklahoma to make this run at squashing the drug epidemic?
If your story was told properly and you showed not just we had 10 people that were addicted to drugs and we've gotten 9 of them off. That's exciting. That's a great story, okay?
Sure.
And they'll like that. But what has to back that up is, oh, by the way, this is the economic impact on the state of Oklahoma.
Right, because we don't actually know that.
And no one does. No one sits around, but those numbers are out there somewhere.
Yeah,
so now to compile all of it together
Yeah.
and say, okay, we use this much money per person versus what you're using. And when our program is running for a year at 25,000 people, this is the economic impact on the state of Oklahoma. Crime is reduced, employment is up. There's just a lot of things. We don't have abusive families. We don't have drug court. We don't have family court. And it's all these things that are around it.
Yes, because there are facts out there. So judges, I figured this out, and Trump really took kind of the chains off some judges that they could use this alternative. Everyone's in agreement now that jail or prison does not work for the addict.
Right.
So that's a widespread held belief is that it's pointless to put an addict in prison.
It's not an edge thought anymore.
No, it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
And so with that news, Trump, when President Trump, love him or hate him, we're just speaking facts here. He comes into office and he goes, let's make some options that a judge doesn't have to put that guy in jail, that he can maybe take him to treatment. And so with that law, a bunch of things explode and they're able to do that. So right now we're sitting at this crossroads. Employment is going to come back. I mean, he's done that before, the president has. And we're looking at an explosion of employment where people need workers, okay? The addicted is an untapped resource where it can benefit. It's like you said, you're taking the lost wages, the emergency room visits, the police responding, the ambulance.
Family court.
Narcan cost alone would be astronomical to get into. And so you're looking at that, and yet there's no one that's coming alongside and going, "Hey man, let's just connect these dots. Let's try to put this in your." So like a facilitator is what is needed in this area. So what's the first step in doing that? Do you get in front of the right people? How would you solve?
The right people are not hard to get in front of because there are several. Any state representative or congressman or senator, or even guys that are running departments like Department of Health, Department of Economics, Commerce. All those guys would listen, but no one's connected. Like you said, no one's connected the dots.
That's it.
The dots. The homework has got to be done first. You're going to get one shot in front of these people. After that, you're a noisy thing, and you're just not you have hopes and dreams, but
Right.
you show them details, man. This is how much money we spent here, and this follow the money trail. That is always the way to handle things. That is always the way to make
Now you're
an
speaking
impact.
their language.
You'll have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what if we put this money in and we save this much money out of these other departments and we don't have these issues anymore? We can reduce these issues by 20%. What if we could reduce family court by 20%? We're not asking for 80% reduction. What if we had a 20% reduction? What does that look like economically? I mean, it's a huge impact.
Oh my god, yeah, there's no
Well,
way.
you can't go in with crazy numbers. You got to go in with numbers that are on the low side, because that's what you do. You under promise and you over deliver. So they'll go ahead and measure it. They'll give you a shot, and then they'll measure the results and find out if you're telling the truth or not, or if this is really right or not. If this is just a theory, and it's not a theory, and they know it's not, but no one's pulled it all together.
Unbelievable.
No one's pulled it all together.
That's it. It's,
Yeah.
So that's
When I
that's
do a
it.
business plan, it is a vision that I have of something that doesn't exist, or an improvement of something that does exist.
Right.
And that I paint the picture, and you never make it what you think it should be. Because I always think I've got something here that's going to do really, really well.
Sure.
But you back off on it, and you say, well, it's going to lose money for the first 3 years. But then year 4, 5, and 6, the numbers go crazy, rather than saying year 1, it's going to make money. So you just have to lay it out where, it's realistic and they can believe it, because you just got to get in.
Right.
Once you get your foot in the door, you know you'll produce.
Right.
And that's what happens with us. That's how, when I write a business plan and I go to people for money, you have to write the business plan back off a little bit. Same thing here. When you write up this document that's going to be presented to the state of Oklahoma, somebody in the state of Oklahoma, and we can get to anybody, this thing has to be done in such a way where it's realistic, it's believable, and it shows slow change over a period of time.
Right.
But at least the ship is starting to come back around.
And then if it over delivers,
Then
it's fantastic.
you're a hero.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
yeah.
are the guys that allowed you to write, so are the congressmen and the senators.
Yeah, who cares who gets the credit? That's
Yeah,
always
we
been
don't- we
Reckless's
don't-
thing.
exactly,
I don't care at
exactly.
all. Like people are
No,
getting help.
no.
And that's really the thing. So and I'm wrapping this one section of this up because it's not hopeless, the drug epidemic. It's not. I mean that's crazy. It's a problem that we could solve, but right now we're not even looking at it. And I that's the biggest thing for me is the state of Oklahoma and the guys involved. It took me, I had a chip on my shoulder when Reckless first got started because I thought we're the ones doing good, they're the ones doing bad. How do we drill it into their heads? But you're talking about guys, like you said it, they have good intentions. They're trying. You get into politics to change the world, whether you realize it or not. That's the motivating factor, is that you want to do some good, especially on the state level.
And you want to keep them doing good by term limiting them and don't make it a career out of it.
There we
so
go.
Get somebody to go in for 4 years. I've got to make a difference in 4 years. I'm not here for 30. I'm here for 4.
Let's get radical in action.
Exactly.
That's exactly what you have to do.
Right.
It's not a step
a
aside.
certain period of time, and you just got to get in there and do it.
See,
so
that's
what's
a whole
what's the bottom line problem with someone that gets addicted? Let's take away the percentage that have some chemical issues.
That's a very low percentage. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
that's not even them. Yeah.
so what's the problem is deeper than most 30-day state-run rehab programs are ever
They're
going
not
to
even going to ask the question.
Right,
It's
but
not there.
sometimes they don't even know.
Yeah.
So what's the real issue is self-fulfillment, self-esteem,
They're restless.
unhappy,
That's exactly what it is.
abuse.
That's it.
So now we help those that are struggling, but then what has to happen is the same organization, phase 2, has to start dealing with the primary problem and start going back to people way before the thing starts. And that is the success of this organization.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's really where the next level of this goes. Once you've got a system that helps those that are struggling to no longer struggle, believe in themselves, now we got to figure out, which is not the government's role either,
No.
how do we help the family not deal with those
Now,
issues?
see, this is the passion of Reckless right here, because this is where I read constantly. If anyone knows me, you know that. Sometimes up to 300 pages a day, but the data's there. The information is there. No one's going out and getting it. No one cares enough. The only gift I have in life is not what people think. They think because I don't eat, I don't sleep. I'm passionately curious. That's the only driving force I have in my life. Is it, right?
Right.
And so one of the things I've noticed looking into all of these numbers, if you change, you need the dad. You need the men of the country. That's who you need. If you change the men, you change the household. If you change the household, you change your country. That's how it happens. And so one of the things that we started doing was, it wasn't enough for us to just get the addicted into treatment. It wasn't enough for us. Then we had to go back and visit them every month. And we're pouring into them. We're giving them information. We're trying to find out their passions. Like, I remember one guy wanted to weld my father-in-law's a phenomenal welder and he runs a welding crew. And I'm like, brother, I got this guy. You do your thing. You graduate. You stay in here, and I'm gonna we're gonna connect you to that guy.
Right.
But then it really, the passion of us was pouring every resource we had into that one guy. Reckless was started. Everyone thinks that we started it to help all these people. It was one guy. I started Reckless to help a friend of mine who ended up overdosing, believe it or not, just a few months ago. But I spoke at his funeral. It was terrible. But it was about helping him, getting him back into treatment when he had relapsed. That's all. That was it. It was about pouring into one guy. And so through that, what I learned is, man, if you can change one, if you can change that, he'll change. Who knows how many people you actually impact.
Right.
So what I started doing was, it wasn't enough to just get them in. Then it wasn't enough to just go back. Then it's like, you've got to pour into them. You've got to figure out what drives them.
Right.
Help them get educated in that. Help them pursue that passion. And then locate them when they get out. Help them get a job, housing, whatever. And then it's this network of, they don't feel like a project because you're on their level. They're a friend. They're not a project. Hey man, I genuinely care about you and your family. I don't actually...
Right.
And I think one of the things that Reckless does...
I'm not getting paid to do this necessarily.
Exactly.
It's not like,
We make $10 an hour and it's like documented news. And so one of the things that Reckless does is we've maintained that independence at great financial, suffering, but it's not. People always say, how do you guys make such little money and do it? It's like, because we see the results daily. If you could see the results daily, the money would fade. Like for you, it's just not there. It's
Right.
the easiest part of the equation is the money part.
Right.
And so we do that, and it's like with the aftercare and just pouring into that addicted. How do we change the mindset of America? Though is where I'm going with this. That churches, they think, well, let's get the addict into treatment. Now he's somebody else's problem. And now the government has the exact same mentality. I mean, the government is, okay, we have a program available for them. Let's get them in there, and then we'll just trust the psychologist to do what a psychologist does. The guy will get help. And it's how do we, okay, wait, hang on a minute. 3% success rate is obviously not working. Can we scrap? How do you get into that conversation, like you yourself, where you would look at that problem, and who would be the first person? I mean, is it economic? Is it Health and Human Services? Is it DHS? Who do you reach out to first and go, hey man, let's bridge a gap here, because there's obviously a gap. And you're looking at it from the outside in. Who do you start putting together? I mean, what pieces of the
In my
puzzle?
opinion, there's no doubt where to start first. You go economics.
So this is radical. This is no one else's plan. This is your plan. This is no one else's plan.
No. This is not your plan either.
No,
I'm not trying to dictate.
I don't have
What
it.
I would do is, if it was me, I would say, listen, we identify the economic impact on a long-term basis, and then that's how we present it. If you go to the Department of Health or whatever, they're ingrained in doing it their way. You're never going to change them directly.
Right.
You've got to go economic impact, top down. We're doing this.
So if you guys can just translate what he just said to you, it's a money problem.
Yep.
Is what he's saying, and he's going to show in data what his first thing would be is show the cost to America of drug addiction, and specifically the cost to Oklahoma, which is, like I said, it's $700 million they pay a year to fight it. That's the budget
In Oklahoma.
In Oklahoma alone. Okay. Now we don't actually know the cost though. I mean, so we'd have to piece all of that together. So he is saying the radical part of this is, let's not address it on the drug level first, because this is amazing the way your brain works, because you're saying, no, it's a problem. Stop looking at it. You're
More
looking
holistic. You got to look at it more holistic.
Right, you got to back up. You're looking at it through a lens, and you're saying, to get the people on board that can change this, you've got to speak their language,
Now,
which is
think about this. If you go to a group of people who are doing something a certain way, and their lives and jobs depend on it,
right?
And you know they're not doing as efficient a job, and you go to them, you are not going to make much change. They're not going to make any headway.
No, you're going to get
right.
friction.
So go to the group who is in charge overall of the financial situation of the state and how we can impact the state economically. What if we had a lower drug rate than anybody in the country? How does that work when you're trying to bring a business into the state of Oklahoma? Oh, our education is better. Well, it's not. We're working on that. But now, so that's how you approach it. So you go to a totally different group of people who have a huge stake in making this reduce, but don't have a pre-existing idea of how to make it happen. You show results. This is what we've done. This is science, man. This is fact.
Yeah.
Here's what we've done. If we've done it this much and we've affected that many people, what if we expanded it? We need your help. And
that's
the way to
amazing.
do it.
And that's so when I did have the conversation.
Now, to say that, not to interrupt you.
No, you're fine.
But I don't want to come across looking like I am Michelle Answer Man either. because I'm serious. I
You're
don't want to be
making something
arrogant.
your brain,
I'm serious.
No, it's not that. No,
Larry knows how to answer that. Then why the heck is he?
No. That's why I wanted you to show though. When I heard and we.
That's just the way I think. That's my
right. That's your niche.
I look at that when a pharmacy and a telephone company and anything. That's
what makes the world run though. That's
how do we improve it, and who do I have to get on my side to make it happen? It's all about negotiation.
It's a people thing. You don't lose your relational integrity.
That's right.
That's what it is. So that's where it's one of the huge things that's just driving. When I did meet Governor Stitt and I got to meet Senator or Congressman Langford. So it was amazing. One of the things that it was me and Governor Stitt that talked about. He said. So he heard about our program and that we didn't take state or federal funding, and he was all in at that point. He's like, hang on a minute. So he's listening to
that.
Yeah, he does. Because what that shows to him, he's a grinder. He went out. Look up Gateway. Look what the guy did with almost nothing, and the way he did what he did. And so, which is crazy, that company.
To hear the story of how he started.
Oh my God!
Nothing in his house.
It's amazing what he did.
Just a great man.
Working 22 hours a day at one point. Anyway. So when I talked to him about that, his eyes lit up at the no government funding and staying. And we have to stay independent, or the government can tell us what to do with their money. It's not your money; it's theirs. So we've always had to maintain our independence. His eyes lit up, and one of the things that it was Langford that said to me, I believe, or his rep Underwood that said to me, "So how do we help you?" He said, "We're looking at your numbers; they're amazing. What do you need from us?" There's so many state regulations on what we're allowed to do or helping the people that are in jail, that the avenues are not open. And I remember sharing this with him. I said, just take the chains off of us, boys. That's all you got to do. Like we are who we are.
What a concept.
Yeah, it's like
reduce regulations.
It's like we got enough law, right? We don't enforce the ones we have. That's not here or there. But I remember telling him that just get the chains off of us. Drop this partitions that exist between every phase of government, between everything that's involved. There's just nothing there. And so one of the things that we've had to do at great cost to ourselves, but it works, we pay taxes on everything we buy and everything we sell. So now my accountant's coming to me, Jordan, you're a nonprofit. What are we doing? Why aren't you filing for this? Why aren't you getting this grant? Why aren't you getting this? You should not be paying for your own cell phone. You definitely should be paying on taxes on the shirts that you're buying to print. This is insanity. What are you doing? And we have to exist in this bubble because of the restrictions that exist. Hey, we have to be independent from everyone. We have to be independent from the government. We have to be independent from the church. Although I love them, I love their compassion. I love that. Hey, we're part of the local church. I know people think that Reckless is like rebellious. We're not. That's not what's going on here. The church can't help for the same reason the state can't help. It's the exact same reason. Because they don't think about addiction the right way. That's it right there. I've known churches, and you'll know this, and we're going to get to this point, but I've known churches that will love an addict all the way to death. It's compassion, but it's not logic or common sense. So they're going, like these sweet older women in some of these churches, they're giving an addict a car and letting them stay in their house. They're just using drugs in their house, and it's like all this, and I'm going, ma'am, you're not helping. This is enabling. Is what's happening. Well, I care about them so deeply. I know you do, and you do. It comes from
not wrong. There's no doubt about it.
It comes from a good. Enabling always comes from a good place. So how do we look at addiction in the right way? How do we get it to where objectively, like what you said, it's a problem. Let's figure it out. Let's step back. You said holistically. Let's get a holistic approach to what's happening. How do we, as you and I, in our positions that we are in, how do we start the narrative of changing the way the world looks at addiction? Because one of the things I say at Reckless constantly, my crew gets tired of hearing it. We place a lot of the addicted, probably well over 4,000, 5,000 at this point. We'd have to look into treatment. And that's great, amazing, celebrate, awesome. If we don't change the way the world looks at addiction, we're not going to make a dent in anything that's happening.
That's exactly right.
Nothing's going to change.
But how do you change it?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
the change has got to start, in my opinion, again, the expert here. And, I own a pharmacy, so of course I know how to handle this. So, in my opinion, it's got to change from them. The addict's got to act and think differently. So now when they go back into the community after they've been healed or helped to a certain extent, that success will start changing the minds. My family member, I won't tell you who it is, had a serious, I don't want to embarrass the person.
No, I totally understand, yeah.
Had a serious drug problem. We helped that person through it.
Which you had to get some pretty extreme levels. You had to do what no one else is willing to do.
Crazy stuff.
That's what my family did for me.
We did some crazy stuff. But now that person is in a season where they have to start thinking about themselves differently. So now the family is seen they're no longer taking the drug, but they still think and act angry, annoyed, stressed, and now
Because they perceive that's the way people are looking
exactly.
at it. They perceive that.
And that's exactly right. So it's self-perpetuating. So to change it, you can't start advertising, hey, they're no longer on drugs. Start treating your local drug.
Because then you're taking the crutch for them. It doesn't actually help.
No, but it doesn't. Because what they see in the individual is not changing significantly enough to warrant me to think differently about them or to give them a chance. There's, you know what I mean?
I do.
So there's got to be, there's got to be a mindset change in them. You are healed. You are changed. You've been helped. You're no longer. You've worked through what's held you back.
Right.
And now you've got to start living like it.
Because they carry the stigma of addict, and a lot of these
course.
programs keep telling them they're an addict, and to always say that.
I have a hard time with that.
You have to.
Again, I'm not. I know,
but I want to hear the analogy again on record here that you told me earlier about the pregnant. You got to say that again.
Yeah, 10 years after you're no longer taking drugs, you go to these programs and you have to announce, "Hi, I'm Larry, I'm an addict," and I'm like, wait a minute. You're no longer an addict. You haven't taken drugs in 10 years. My ex-wife doesn't get up and say, "Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm pregnant." She was pregnant for 9 months. The baby's gone. She's no longer pregnant. Now you're a mother. "Hi, I'm Larry. I used to take drugs. I've been healed. I've been delivered. I've worked through my issues, and now look at me." That's the response, because that starts helping them think, I'm no longer this needy person that's less than everybody else. And it's so annoying for me to hear.
Right.
And my son tells me, "Well, Dad, you don't understand what they've gone through. Your teeth are polished, everything's good, things look nice, and you're educated. You don't relate to these people, Dad." Okay, you know what? Not true.
Right.
Because I deal with people that are broke and don't believe in themselves and have failing businesses, and we come in and we wrap ourselves around them and we turn that business around, and that guy now believes in himself. Failure was a drug.
Absolutely. And
the fear of success was a drug.
Oh, it's parallel.
That person is no longer doing that, and now 10 years later, I've got guys and gals all over the world that are doing things that they didn't think they could do before because we helped them find their groove.
And that's it right there. Is validating that, putting that passion in them, and then watching them. I'm telling you, so many of the ones that we deal with is changing that mindset. And it's like, I can't explain it, guys, and if you've never seen it, it's a treat, but it's a miracle. You don't have to say anything to them when they change. So when they start seeing themselves, and the perception is reality, it just is. What you perceive, like the scripture, hey, let's go back to that. Whatever you think in your mind, that's who you are. That's what's happening, right?
That's psychology, too.
It is.
That's just a great scripture.
It is.
It's
life. Proof, no doubt about it. And so going in, there's this guy that we work with. I'll keep his name off, but he's going to come to work for us. And we picked him up in an emergency crisis center. He had no clothes. He'd been jumped. His glasses were completely shattered. So he had one lens that was gone, one that was broken. He had one earpiece. And we had to have him so he could only see what he could see. And I remember the state called us and said, hey, there's just, that's how we get a call. We don't get a call, hey, there's a guy here. He's interested in your program. Hey, there's a guy here. We're going to kick him out. But if you want him, you'd be here at this time. That's the call that we get from these hospitals. So of course, we're in the van, our crew. We go get this guy. And I remember we got him some clothes. We took him to Walmart and got him, some clothes. And I remember this. So we're on month 10 with him now, or 11. He's about to graduate and come to work here. I can't wait for y'all to meet him. But I remember the day that it happened. It was like month 3 or 4. As soon as he got in, we got some new glasses. So you know what I'm saying. So we just, hey, this is what you need. We do it.
Wow.
Now here's why most people don't do it. They're afraid of him leaving or saying I don't want They're getting burnt. No return on their investment. Guys, let's clear that up right now. You will not get a return on 98% of the things that you do.
Right.
Maybe 99. The numbers are just, don't even keep track of that because it's going to be depressing. Don't. But I promise you, this is where it clicked for me. With this young man, 30-something years old, in and out of jail, all these things, no family to speak of, all these terrible things have happened to him, no money, no nothing, getting the clothes. Month 4, month 3, he's got a job now, he's working, he's getting these things. He comes to us and he says, I really need a pair of boots for my job because we have to get it out of him. We always have to say, what do you need? You tell me what you need. This is what's great about our independence. One of the things that we do at Reckless is I don't have someone saying, well, you're not authorized to do that. I'll buy them teeth if they need teeth. I don't care, right? Don't tell me what I can or cannot buy. We generate the income ourselves. Right. So it's like, right. Yeah, I pay taxes, so you can leave me alone. So it's, buying them, you had to have a dental thing, getting that taken care of, right? Boom, taken care of. And I started to watch how it changed. It's like his perception, like just little by little. It's like he had more confidence about who he was. It was very strange, right? And I'm just watching this happen. So about month 4, he says, I really need some boots if you're just asking, because we wouldn't leave him alone. And he just didn't want to tell me. I said, you need boots? And he goes, yeah, we're out at work all day, and I need some weather boots that I can do this. And so I remember going to my team and saying, look, here's the deal. Here's a pair of boots. They're $50. That's kind of what he needs. But here's this pair of boots that are they're almost $200. That's $180, but they would be like custom made kind of for him, and they're like this. They're really the best at what they do. And I said, I don't think that all my team was on board. And I had one guy that came up to me, he's a pastor of church, and he said, yeah, but no church wants to see any of their money. That's why you don't get a lot in donations, Jordan, because no church wants to see that much of their money put into that. So he said to me. Now we got the boots. I took him to this guy. He got fitted and all this stuff.
It's a poverty mindset.
It is. And I remember watching him in this moment, boom. I just remember this and so I'm standing there watching him, and I give him the boots. We do this kind of stuff. I'm not bragging. We do that. That's kind of what we do at Reckless. And I watched him grab a hold of me, not say a word to me, and cry for it was like a 20-minute session, right? I don't like physical contact much anyway, so I'm genuinely uncomfortable. But it's what are you going to tell me? They can't cry on you? It's you don't want to be that guy, right? So he's crying on me, and I remember this it was yesterday. He walked away from that, and the next time I came back, it's 4 months in. The next time I came back, he's a leader in his little small group, and I'm like, Wes, that's strange. He's never. They in fact they even came to him and he said no, that he couldn't do this on his gift. Well, then the next time I came back, he's leading his work crew. Then the next time he came back, he's running the whole dorm by himself. It's 80 guys, and he's in charge of all 80 of them, and he's only halfway through the program. And so I asked one of the staff members there, I said, what in the world has gotten into this guy? He shuts the door behind me, he goes, you tell me, and what's in the boots that you gave him? That's exactly what he said to me. What was in the boots that you gave him? Guys, his self-image changed like that.
Exactly.
He went from being a broken person that only sees himself being able to contribute on a broken scale. He was cleaning toilets. He said, I can do that. Brother, there's nothing wrong with that. Be broken. You need that. Get broken. But how do we get you, you know what I'm saying? Just kind of doing that. And so, one of the things that I love about what you said, and that I love about, I know I told that really long story, but I love about what you do, is that's your mindset with people. It's not just the broken and addicted. You're talking about CEOs that you deal with that are used to power, that are used to, how do you deal, that's got to be difficult, because the people I deal with, they know they're broken. There's some entitlement there, don't get me wrong, but hey man, you steal a car and you wreck it into your family's house and crazy stuff and you lose everything, and it's you know what's going on. But you're taking people that are harder to break or that are harder to work with. How do you do that in your line of work?
It's a group of people I call the up and outers. We all know what the down and outers are, right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, the up and outers are out, but they are up, so it doesn't look like.
Yeah, a new pair of boots ain't gonna fix that.
No.
They're not.
So what they want to see is consistency. The same as everybody else. They're just in a different position. So their problems are just a little bit different. But what I have found, what I've experienced is the more real I am. Most guys aren't going to share that they were embezzled and that their wife left and they were falsely accused and they were charged.
No, we don't wear scars on the outside.
No, we don't. And most guys, especially high type A guys that are CEO, they're
money guys. Yeah.
These guys don't want anybody to know that there's a weakness. See, I don't really care. My story was put out.
Much like my own. Yeah.
Yeah. So what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I can hide from it.
Well, someone said, "Well, you were a heroin addict." I said, "No, it's on our website."
Yeah. So what? There just has to be. There's relationships. There's developments of relationships, and it doesn't. You just don't walk in and start making a difference. You walk in and you start being consistent, and over a period of time, they see that you're somebody that's real. They see that the story they've heard doesn't have the teeth that it did when they heard it, because it sounds very exciting that this guy's lost everything.
But you're walking it out, though.
Yeah, and you've come back. See, that's the thing. People respect the fact that you were down, and you came back, and you don't have an attitude about it.
Yeah, that you're willing to be broken alongside someone else and talk to them about it. That's why I dragged Vanessa and my beautiful son Jack, and I dragged them to every treatment center we speak at, because it's guys, I was worse than all of you. You have no idea. You just don't know, right? And now look, this is happening. This is, you know what I mean?
This is for you,
So to you, and wrapping this up here, I know we got to get off here, but it's amazing to me because it's a people thing. It's about investing in people.
It is a people
and not expecting an immediate return.
No. And you don't get a return from the field you sow in a lot of times either.
Hardly ever.
Your return comes back on the other side. It's just the way it works. You always reap what you sow. That's a biblical and it's a scientific.
They've proven it now.
You don't plant tomatoes and grow corn, right? I mean, but you don't always grow in the field that you planted in. And then I was a youth pastor.
Right.
Rebellious kids that aren't listening, that are throwing stuff behind your back,
right.
that think that are talking about you and trying to kiss every girl in the room. And you're thinking, am I making any difference in anybody's lives? I'm
right.
a babysitter. I'm a babysitter. But you know what? Now that I've been out of youth ministry for 20-some years, I've married a couple of them. They've asked me to come and marry them. I'm ordained, so I've married them. And then you hear about their kids. They want you to be there for that. And the stories of their turnaround, that is what it's about.
And you played a role in that.
You have to be able to sow without reaping and continue to know that you're going to make a difference over the long haul. That's the key to what you're doing, and that's why you've been successful.
So, and I want to tie this to your businesses because, guys, everything that he has said today in this amazing podcast that you guys are listening to, everything that he has said, it's about people. It's about responding to broken people because you were once broken, and it's that compassion that you have because it doesn't have to be the end of their story. That is insane. That's absolutely insane. So you're not trying to solve the drug epidemic from a educational standpoint, which is what generally
or
people
a clinical standpoint, which is the way it's done typically.
Right.
We bring you into a program, we have 18 steps, and you do what you're supposed to do. Why aren't you healed? It's a lot more than that.
It's about the person's. Yeah, it is. And so, given everything that we've talked about today, in the light of where we're at, I know we're coming off this coronavirus. Everything's starting to open back up again. What do you see as far as the public's reaction to a company like Reckless, like what we're doing here, and I mean on the state level, but I mean on the general level, like what do you see? I guess what I'm asking is on us making a difference, like in the long haul of things. Do you see the drug epidemic starting to turn in America? I mean, do you see where it's because a lot of things have to happen for us to be where it's a crossroads. President Trump, the economy had to come way up to where the need for workers or employees was huge, right? Or they never would have looked at the addicted as a workforce or as a potential workforce.
Right.
So what do you see, 5 years down the road? Where do you see the Reckless Saints of Nowhere?
Interesting you say that. And I think it's probably not as obvious or not as typical of a response you're going to get from me right now, which I'm sure you probably weren't looking for a typical response.
I know. At this point, I've thrown out what I thought you were going to say.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. We are going to be faced as a nation, as a state, as communities with incredible financial challenges. We're spending more money as a government than they spent during the Great Depression and recovering from World War II. The numbers are staggering. We have no idea how bad it's going to be.
Right.
And I hate to say it, I'm not a prophet of doom, but let's just be honest, you don't print $4 trillion and not have to pay a price for it.
That's exactly right.
So guess what? You now have a unique opportunity to speak into these governments, these agencies, mainly right now with the state of Oklahoma and your own community through an economic standpoint. This crisis, we've heard some people say, never let a good crisis go, away without being helpful.
Right.
So I forget the exact quote, but I don't
I'm
want
with
to.
you.
Yeah. So you know what? You have an opportunity here to restart the conversation from a different standpoint, guys. We've got a drug problem. It's probably gotten worse with everybody being locked up in their house. I know friends that are drinking at 3 o'clock.
It's crazy. Like it's a vacation.
I have friends that own liquor stores that the sales have gone through the roof. It's better than Christmas time for certain drug and
he's not wrong.
Alcohol.
That's a fact.
So that provides the state of Oklahoma with an economic opportunity to say, you know what, we can reduce our expenses significantly by helping solve this problem that's going to affect every department's budget by getting people off drugs. So now the spin, because of this economic opportunity, everybody is panicking saying, I don't have any money, where's the money going to come to run my nonprofit? And you come out of it saying, look at this, we're going to take a different look at it. We're going after the niche. Here's the niche. The niche is there's an economic development problem in the state of Oklahoma and around the country. And we can solve some of that, put some of that money back in the coffers by doing this to help reduce the amount of drug dependency. And that will affect all the other departments. Where before, you couldn't tell that story because money was flowing and no one was looking to save. When does your family have a harder time and when do you want to start cutting? When do you get rid of Netflix? and all this other stuff that you don't really, everybody doesn't need that much of.
Absolutely, yeah.
You get, when things start getting tight, when dad loses his job, you got to cut back on this, no more going out to eat as often.
Right.
Well, we're in the same position now. We've got an economic problem, so they're going to look at every area, and the winner is going to be the guy that comes to the state and says, I can help you reduce your overall budget by doing this. And that's the narrative.
Which, no small task, but the good
No
news
small
is
task.
Reckless has been preparing for it unknowingly for 6 years. I mean, it's been that.
That's
Larry, thank you very
Such a
much.
pleasure,
Oh
brother.
my gosh, are you kidding
Thank
me?
you so much. It's an honor to be here. It really
It was
is.
an honor to be on this side of it, but thank you. I mean, you're what a wonderful host. I mean, guest.
I agree with the first part.
I'm talking myself up at the end of that Jordan
Gosh,
guy.
darn it, am I
Oh my
terrific?
goodness.
Holy cow.
You gotta take pride in your humility, guys. You take that from me, alright? There's a quote, Yogi Berra right there for you. There it is.
Exactly.
He's a Yankee fan, so I didn't throw
Exactly.
it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Reckless Hope Show. I want you to keep Reckless accountable because everything that we talked about here, that's the plan at Reckless. That's something that, I mean, bringing Larry in to advise and you guys getting to be a part of that is just huge because that's what we're going after. We're not going after getting the addicted into treatment. That's great. That's not the end goal for Reckless. We're going to change the way the world looks at addiction and hopefully we're going to give a great boost to the great country of America. I mean, we're patriots, man, by far. I mean, it's the greatest nation there is. Larry Favalora, look him up. It's something else. I'm telling you what. What do you want to plug? Your Facebook? How do people get a hold of you if they need you? Sell a company?
LinkedIn, probably.
LinkedIn.
It tells the whole story.
Tells it.
Except
Yeah.
for the false accusation and the losing all my money and everything
But
else.
there's a photograph of you on LinkedIn. I'm not going to ruin it. You got to go to LinkedIn to see it. It's your profile picture. That one got me. We booked him based on that. No, I'm just kidding. Hey guys, thank you so much, Larry. Again,
Yeah.
much thanks, brother.
Thank
We'll
you.
talk to you guys soon.
Appreciate it.